As we join our heroes, Alan, Maria, and their new friend CJ, an elf around the same age as Alan, to continue their adventure in search of Blue Haven, Maria asks CJ, "So it was you who was stalking us, wasn't it?" CJ awkwardly laughs and replies, "Well, yes, sort of. Truth is, I noticed you two were lost, so I wanted to check in on you to see if you needed help. Given how humans and elves are, I just wasn't sure if you two were trustworthy people." "What do you mean? What's the issue between humans and elves?" Alan wondered. Maria gave him a playful bop on the head. "Be nice." "Oh no, don't worry about it, it's fine. Besides, I can tell you two are good," CJ assures them, as Alan begins to climb a tree. "Well, Alan is pretty wild, but I can tell he has a good heart." "Oh, and that reminds me, you two are looking for Blue Haven, correct?" "Yes, do you know about it?" Maria asks. "I do, in fact I know where to find it." "Wait, you do? Would you be able to take us?" Maria eagerly asks. "Of course, I've been there a few times and plenty of mages are there." As Alan continues to climb the tree, Maria reminds him to be careful. CJ takes the opportunity to ask Maria about their quest for Blue Haven, wondering why they are looking for it. "I mean, I'm a mage," Maria remarks, but CJ presses on and asks if something happened to them. Maria fell silent, feeling a weight in her chest. She was not just a mage, but was also the primary caretaker for her bedridden mother and her impulsive younger brother, Alan. Their father had disappeared when Alan was still a baby, leaving Maria to take on the responsibility of providing for her family. They used to live outside the city's walls, away from civilization, but their peaceful existence was shattered when a man, whom they later learned was Vlad, came to their home a few weeks ago, threatening to take the kids away. Fearing for their safety, Maria and Alan fled, searching for a place where they could be safe and free. It was a heavy burden for a 12-year-old girl to carry, and she didn't know how much longer she could keep it up. All she can muster is, "It was because of the order." "Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean. What exactly do you mean by order?" CJ asks, confused. Maria began to explain how there were knights looking for magical people or creatures. Meanwhile, up in the trees, Alan spotted a little squirrel-like creature sitting in a small hole in the tree. Alan's eyes widened as he shouted, "A squirrel!" CJ and Maria stopped their conversation, concerned for Alan's sake. Maria positioned her hands in front of her and gradually waved her hand to her side, causing a tree to grow underneath CJ and herself as it brought them closer to Alan. As the three of them got closer to the tree, they noticed that the squirrel-like creature was actually a small wolf pup. The pup was huddled up in the hole, growling softly at the three kids. CJ and Maria stopped in their tracks, realizing that the wolf pup might be scared or injured. On the other hand, Alan was excited and wanted to approach the little wolf. "Guys, look, it's a wolf pup. Let's get closer and see if we can help it," said Alan. CJ and Maria were hesitant, but they followed Alan as he cautiously approached the wolf pup. As they got closer, the wolf pup growled more fiercely, showing its teeth. "Whoa, it looks like it's defensive," said Maria. "We need to be careful. It might be hurt or separated from its pack," added CJ. The three kids slowly backed away, trying not to agitate the little wolf. They stood still for a moment, trying to come up with a plan. "I have an idea," said Alan. "Maybe we can try to find its pack and reunite them." CJ and Maria nodded in agreement. They knew it was a risky plan, but it was worth a try. Together, the three of them set out into the forest, determined to help the little wolf pup find its way back home. As Alan tries to reach the little pup, it backs away and starts scratching Alan's hand. Alan moves back after being scratched, but still wants to help the little wolf. The wolf bites Alan's hands to break free, but Alan realizes that its bites are weak. CJ then places his hands on the pup and it begins to glow. This makes the little wolf calm down, and CJ can understand what's going on with it. "Oh, that's what's happening. This little guy is a Spiritmon." "What's a Spiritmon?" Alan asks. "They're creatures from another world that people can call to be their friends. They can also change into bigger creatures." The group goes back down, where Maria starts to bandage and feed the wolf. Alan can't take his eyes off the wolf. "So, what did you do? You made the light come out of your hand again," Alan wonders. "Is that your magic? How does it work?" Maria also asks, as the wolf eats blueberries off her hand. "Oh well, yes, it's magic. I was trying to connect with the wolf's energy to heal it and find out what happened to it and if it was okay. Turns out someone was attacking everything in the forest." "Why would someone do that?" I'm not sure, Alan. This little guy got caught in the middle, so he hid in the tree to heal. Alan picks up a few blueberries as the wolf runs up to eat. I'm sorry, little buddy. I'll help you get better so we can stop that bad guy. Alan, don't say things like that. We don't know how dangerous people can be out there. After the Spiritmon was full and bandaged up, the three decided to look for its pack. CJ, who is a natural navigator due to his connections with nature, is able to guide the group through the woods. I sense an energy source this way. Let's get closer to see if it's anyone from its pack, CJ said. How are you able to sense that? Maria wondered. You don't know how to do that? CJ asked, surprised. Rude. I mean, with your powers of nature, you should be able to sense things far away. You noticed me from far away earlier when I was observing you two. You mean when you were spying on us? But I thought I was just being crazy. CJ laughed. There's nothing crazy about it. Humans are raised to ignore their senses around them and are looked down upon when they do. Be open to who you are, then the world opens up to you. What do you think Jimmy's family is like? Alan questioned. Jimmy? Maria, now confused by Alan's randomness, asked. Jimmy, the wolf, that's his name, Alan smiled. Don't name him, Alan. We're taking him back to his family, Maria shouted. CJ stopped in his tracks, his eyes widening as he sensed danger. He motioned for Maria and Alan to do the same. I think I know what happened to his pack. CJ's voice trembled slightly as he turned to Alan and Maria. Run! Maria's heart started to race, as if she could feel something coming closer. Her hands shook as she grabbed Alan's arm, pulled him towards her, and started running with CJ. Alan's eyes darted back and forth, confused for a moment, letting go and watching his sister and CJ sprint through the dense, shadowy forest. Why is everyone running away, Jimmy? Alan asked the wolf, who tilted his head, seemingly understanding what Alan said while lying on top of Alan's head. As Alan turned around, a large beast was charging towards them through the underbrush. The beast had the head of an eagle, its sharp beak gleaming in the dappled sunlight, the body of a muscular lion with fur as dark as the night, and enormous wings that it used to propel itself forward, making it glide menacingly towards them. The air was filled with the sound of its heavy breaths and the rustling of leaves as it closed in. Alan was frozen in fear of this creature he'd never seen before, as Jimmy jumped off his head and started to run. The pup stopped when he heard Alan talking to himself. Don't be afraid. You are strong. You can take him. Alan began to roar towards the beast as Jimmy watched him conquer his fear. This made the pup think back to this same beast attacking his family, how they stood no chance against this monster. Jimmy's thoughts were interrupted when he heard a familiar, disturbing voice. Oi, is that another wolf spirit? Aye, Griffey, let's catch it this time. Hearing this voice, the beast, now known as Griffey, used its wings to halt itself. With a powerful flap of its wings, Griffey came to a sudden stop, sending a gust of wind towards Alan that pushed him back a few feet, causing his roar to cease. Alan's face slammed into the dirt in front of Jimmy, who was now scared of the man that just walked up. The man was known as Lachlan of the Lake, a well-known hunter who tracked mages and spirits. He wore an open vest, revealing his chest covered in scars, and wielded a whip as his weapon of choice. Lachlan had been using his trusty Spiritmon Griffey, a griffin spirit, to attack all the creatures in this forest to make it stronger. It was this very spirit that had taken out Jimmy's pack. As Alan struggled to his feet, he looked into Jimmy's eyes and asked, "Is this the guy, Jimmy?" The wolf pup's fearful gaze confirmed his suspicions. Determined, Alan patted Jimmy's head reassuringly and said, "CJ mentioned that something attacked you. Don't worry, I won't let them hurt you." "Alan!" Maria cried out in desperation, her voice trembling with fear. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she rushed to embrace her brother. "What are you doing? We told you to run!" CJ observed the griffin intently, furrowing his brow as he noticed the creature seemed to be in pain, just like Jimmy. The atmosphere grew tense as Lachlan taunted them. "By me troth, an elf, and what's this I spy, blue eyes? Might you two be flamers? Aye, I could make a tidy sum for you lot." He pulled out his whip with a sinister grin and cracked it in the air, causing Griffey's feathers and fur to bristle in anticipation of an attack. Alan wobbled on his feet, defiance in his eyes, while Maria tried to support him. "Alan, stay down," she pleaded, her voice choked with concern. But Alan's stubbornness wouldn't allow him to back down. CJ's fists clenched tightly at his sides, his expression a mix of worry and determination. They were all in a perilous situation, with no clear path to safety. Maria's powers could shield them or hold the griffin at bay, but with her attention focused on keeping her brother upright, she couldn't activate her abilities. And CJ, a pacifist by nature, hesitated to use his magic to push the creature away, not wanting to cause it any harm. The tension in the air was palpable as the three friends faced the imminent threat, their hearts pounding in their chests. The griffin locked eyes with CJ, and he could feel the creature's anger boiling beneath the surface. "Oi, what are you waiting for? Get him!" Lachlan yelled, the sharp crack of his whip slicing through the air, aimed at Griffey. CJ noticed Griffey's eyes narrow as it raised one of its sharp talons, ready to strike the defenseless children. At that moment, Alan mustered the strength to stand, positioning himself between the griffin and his friends, acting as a human shield. This sight reminded Jimmy of his own family, who had bravely faced the same griffin to protect him as he fled. Inspired by Alan's courage, a fierce determination ignited within Jimmy. The air was thick with tension as the children braced for the impending attack. Just as the griffin's talon began its downward arc towards Alan, a monstrous wolf seemingly birthed from a luminous glow leapt over the children and pushed Griffey away from them. The force of the impact sent dust and debris swirling around them, momentarily obscuring their vision. As the dust settled, Alan gazed at the wolf, feeling a deep, inexplicable connection with the creature, as though they were two parts of a whole. The wolf's eyes locked onto Alan's, and in that instant he understood. This was Jimmy, transformed and empowered by their bond. Together they stood strong, ready to face the fearsome griffin and protect their friends. "Yay, go Jimmy!" Alan cheered, jumping for joy, as both CJ and Maria, who had been in awe of the unfolding scene, looked at him with confusion etched on their faces. "Jimmy?" they wondered, a hint of disbelief in their voice. Cleaching his whip, Lachlan readied to hit Griffey once more. "Come on nu, Griffey, I didn't attack ye into lose. Take that wolf out nu, or else I'll sell you just like your owner," Lachlan said with a thick accent, his words dripping with impatience and menace. CJ glared at Lachlan as he finally understood why Griffey was carrying so much hate. The tension between Griffey and Jimmy was palpable as they circled each other, their eyes locked in a fierce, unyielding gaze. The air crackled with energy as the two Spiritmons prepared to clash, each determined to protect their respective humans. With a mighty roar, Jimmy lunged at Griffey, his powerful legs propelling him through the air with incredible speed. Griffey, a seasoned warrior, was quick to react. The griffin spread its massive wings and gracefully evaded Jimmy's charge, using the momentum to launch a counterattack. As Jimmy skidded to a halt, Griffey swooped down from above, his razor-sharp talons aimed directly at the wolf. In a last-second maneuver, Jimmy rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the deadly talons that would have surely pierced his flesh. The wolf sprang back to his feet, fur bristling, and snapped at Griffey's retreating form. The battle raged on, a whirlwind of snarls, growls, and the beating of wings, as Griffey and Jimmy exchanged blow after blow. The two Spiritmons seemed evenly matched, their strength and agility on full display as they fought tooth and nail. Alan, Maria, and CJ watched the intense battle unfold, anxiety and fear gripping their hearts. They knew that the outcome of this fight would determine their fate, and all they could do was hope that Jimmy would emerge victorious against the formidable Griffey. Griffey then felt a sharp pain as Lachlan started to repeatedly hit him with his whip. "Finish him now, won't you?" Jimmy's focus shifted to Lachlan as he started walking nearer. "Don't you get near me, beast!" Lachlan was about to crack his whip, only to realize his arm was now merged with a tree. "With the... who did this happen?" Lachlan exclaimed. "So you stole Griffey from his master, didn't you?" Lachlan looked back at CJ, whose hand was on Griffey's neck, glowing, healing the wounds Griffey gotten. "Griffey, what are you doing? Attack him nu!" Lachlan yelled. Maria lifted her hands off the ground. "We won't let you hurt anyone anymore. The more you struggle, the tighter that tree will become." "You wee bampots, when I break out of this, I'm gonna," Lachlan threatened while CJ led the group away from him. With the size of the two spirits now working to their advantage, CJ and Maria rode atop Griffey, who had become friendly towards the kids, soaring overhead. Meanwhile, Alan rode on Jimmy's back, swiftly following them through the woods. It didn't take long for the group to find a suitable location to set up camp, as they were all worn out from the day's events. CJ placed his forehead on Griffey's head as he petted him. "Thank you for your help. I hope you can find a nice home." As CJ thanked Griffey, the spirit then began to shrink into CJ's hands, becoming an owl-like creature with 4 legs. Maria and Alan looked at Griffey, confused. "Wait, wasn't he just a big thingly?" Alan shouted in confusion. CJ laughed. "Why, yes, but unlike regular animals and people, Spiritmon can return to their original size unless they choose to stay in their larger form. Did you two not notice Jimmy do the same?" "Mew," Jimmy replied. "What? Wait." Alan now examining Jimmy. "I thought you were a wolf. Why did you sound like a cat and look like a squirrel?" CJ put his arm out as Griffey flew up and landed on it. "So I guess you're saying you want to stay with us now, hun Griffey?" Griffey gave a pleasing hoot. Now that our heroes have their very own spiritual monster, their journey to Blue Haven is now within their reach. "Hey, why don't I have a spirit?" Myra questioned. "Hun? No, wait a minute. You can't talk to the narrator." Well, anywho, let's see what Vlad has been up to.